What were private prison executives saying 2 days after Donald Trump won the presidential election on a campaign platform of mass deportations of undocumented people? Let's listen to them.
We have assured ICE of our capability to rapidly scale up our capabilities to monitor and oversee several hundreds of thousands or even several millions of individuals.
The GEO Group was built for this unique moment in our country's history.
We're heading into an era that we really haven't seen maybe only once or twice in a company's history, where the value proposition of the private sector for both our state partners and our federal partners are going to be not only strong today, but even stronger as we go into the next couple of years. We do think that there's going to be increased need for detention capacity.
My name is Matt Schuham. I've been a professional journalist for about 9 years, and I'm currently a staff reporter on the national desk at HuffPost. Donald Trump and his team have said they're pursuing mass deportations, and while they probably won't be able to deport all 11 million undocumented people currently living in the United States, they do have immense power to increase the number of deportations that happen every year. And that will probably include paying a lot of tax dollars to private prison corporations. The audio you just heard came from earnings calls from 2 private prison companies 2 days after Election Day. The calls are public and available online. I reported on them on November 7th. The companies, GEO Group and CoreCivic, have seen their stock shares spike since the election. That's partially because they're expecting to receive larger contracts from ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is responsible for arresting and jailing people facing deportation. Here's George Zoley, the founder and executive chair of the board at GEO Group.
We're looking at a theoretical potential doubling of all of our services, whether it's in the detention segment, in the transportation segment, as well as the ISAP program. Well, I think it'll require a kind of a triage of where you put these individuals. I think the higher security people will be in existing, secure facilities. As you descend down into the lower levels, it could result in the need for some soft-sided facilities around the country.
And here's CEO Brian Evans talking about ground and air transportation contracts.
And we believe we have the capabilities to expand the provision of these services to assist ICE in moving several hundreds of thousands of additional individuals if needed.
Then there's digital and physical surveillance, things like ankle bracelets and cell phone apps for people who are inside the country going to immigration court hearings. These programs are known as Alternatives to Detention, or ATD. The main one is called ISAP, or Intensive Supervision Appearance Program. A GEO Group subsidiary currently has the only contract for this program. Here's GEO Group President and COO Wayne Calabrese.
We expect the incoming Trump administration to take a much more expansive approach to monitoring the several millions of individuals who are currently on the non-detained immigrant docket. We have assured ICE of our capability to rapidly scale up our capabilities to monitor and oversee several hundreds of thousands or even several millions of individuals in order to achieve the federal government's immigration law compliance objectives.
The day after the presidential election, ICE announced a December 2nd Industry Day, which is basically their opportunity to talk to surveillance companies about expanding this program. I actually asked if it was open to the press, but they said it wasn't because there could have been a discussion of proprietary information. But here is a Q&A document that ICE posted online after the event, which, this was posted, I guess, a couple days ago. There are some important caveats here. First, lots of undocumented people living in the United States do have some level of legal protection from deportation, like DACA recipients or people with temporary protected status. Even if Trump attacks these programs like he did in his first term, there will be a court battle over what happens next. Second, private prison companies tend to do pretty well no matter who's in office. Also, Joe Biden has continued Donald Trump's aggressive restrictions on asylum rights for people who arrive at the southern border. That's an article I wrote about it. here are some more resources to learn about how Joe Biden has restricted the right to asylum at the southern border. Also, in recent history, no one's deported more people from the interior of the country than Barack Obama. Finally, like I said, these are audio clips from earnings calls where corporations are basically talking to shareholders and potential shareholders, so take what they're saying with a grain of salt. Still, the executive branch has a ton of power to deport people who've already been through the immigration court system and received a final order of deportation, and that's over 1 million people. And the Trump administration is going to put a lot of pressure on police departments, sheriff's offices, city and county governments to cooperate with ICE if someone who's arrested locally happens to be an undocumented person. The whole point of the sanctuary city movement is to establish that localities don't cooperate with ICE when it comes to turning people over to be deported who happen to have been arrested for something like jaywalking. My colleague Roque Planas and I wrote an article recently with some background on all of this stuff, and it's available at HuffPost.com.